Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how to use AI in your real estate marketing without accidentally crossing the line into MLS compliance violations. Look, AI photo editing tools, they are an absolute game changer right now. They make property enhancements practically effortless. But, as we're going to see, improper edits can land you in some seriously hot water. So let's just dive right into the guidelines. We're going to clearly map out the safe zone, things like virtual staging and basic tweaks, and contrast that with the strictly prohibited stuff, like altering permanent property features. Okay, so I want to start off with a question you really need to be asking yourself. Will your very next listing photo result in an MLS fine? Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but honestly, are you absolutely certain that your current AI-edited photos are completely safe from some pretty hefty compliance penalties? Because, with how incredible this technology has gotten, it's literally easier than ever to accidentally cross a boundary you didn't even know was there. Seriously, some of these tools now just automatically clean up backgrounds, right? Erasing fire hydrants or cracked sidewalks without you even having to ask. And well, that brings us right to the core issue here. AI makes property enhancements effortless. It really, really does. But improper edits lead to serious MLS violations. The sheer ease of use with modern AI is honestly kind of a trap. With just one click, you can completely transform a space. But that exact convenience can take a simple, well-intentioned edit and turn it into a massive misrepresentation issue. Think about it. A quick tap to say, automatically brighten a room might just seamlessly wash out a glaring water stain on the ceiling. And boom, suddenly, you've completely misrepresented the actual condition of that property. Moving on to our first section, safe AI enhancements, staying within the lines. So let's start with some good news and actually look at what is allowed. The great thing is, our safe zone is pretty clearly defined, which means you absolutely don't have to abandon AI altogether. There are still some highly effective ways to use it totally legally. First up is virtual staging. This is adding virtual furniture or decor to empty rooms, and it's fantastic because it legitimately helps buyers visualize a space. Empty rooms can notoriously feel way smaller than they actually are, right? So virtual staging is just a stellar tool to help buyers conceptualize living there. But, and this is a massive but, there's a strict condition here. Where required, these photos must be clearly labeled virtually staged. Transparency is absolutely key. Alongside that, your minor enhancements are perfectly fine. We're talking basic exposure correction, maybe brightening up a super dim room, or cropping out a weird angle. Basic tools to present a clear picture, not to deceive. To really picture this, let's compare allowed versus prohibited. On one side, adding virtual furniture to an empty room, totally allowed. On the flip side, changing the physical flooring of a room, completely prohibited. This essentially draws a hard line in the sand between helping a buyer visualize a layout versus straight up changing the physical reality of the home. So dropping a virtual rug on a concrete floor to show, where a cozy seating area could be, totally fine. But using AI to magically turn that concrete floor into polished hardwood? Yeah, that's crossing the line. Which brings us to section 2, strictly prohibited AI edits, the danger zone. Now we got to pivot a bit and talk about the exact actions that will directly trigger those MLS penalties. Okay, the absolute crucial point here is this definition. Prohibited AI use means using tools to alter, add, or conceal any permanent features of a property. Let that sink in for a second. A permanent feature. If a feature is permanently attached, or it's an actual physical part of the property, your AI tools literally cannot touch it. You can't alter it, you can't add to it, and you definitely cannot conceal it. No exceptions. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's run through these strictly prohibited edits. First, changing flooring, countertops, or wall colors. Nope, you cannot digitally repaint a room to make it look trendier. Second, adding or removing landscaping, trees or poles. You can't just digitally plant a beautiful, mature oak tree in the front yard, and you definitely can't erase that dead bush sitting by the porch. Third, modifying structural features. This covers fireplaces, windows, the roof, or exterior materials. Fourth on the list is digitally fixing repairs. Say there's a huge hole in the drywall. AI cannot patch that for the MLS photo. And finally, making non-existent renovations look real. Hiding repairs or faking a brand new roof are major, major violations that will absolutely get you caught. All right, moving into section 3, the golden rule of MLS photos. If you're ever feeling bogged down by all these technicalities, there is one ultimate rule of thumb you can always rely on. I really want you to internalize this one simple question. Would a buyer see this feature if they walked through the property today? This right here needs to be your cognitive anchor. Honestly, before you export that photo, before your mouse even hovers over the upload button on the MLS, ask yourself this exact question. Picture your absolute most discerning buyer walking right through that front door at this very moment. What do they see? Because the reality of the situation is absolute. If the answer is no, it shouldn't be in your MLS photos. It really is just that simple. If the physical reality of the property in this exact moment doesn't match the photo you are about to upload, then that photo simply cannot be in the listing. Period. End of story. Now for Section 4, the real-world stakes. Let's zoom out for just a second here. Why do these super strict rules even exist, and what actually happens when agents decide to ignore them? Well, the consequences of misrepresentation are pretty severe. First off, when you alter permanent features, you're quite literally distorting the listing, and that directly creates unrealistic buyer expectations. I mean, imagine a buyer walking into a house fully expecting these pristine, gleaming hardwood floors because of your AI-edited photo, only to walk in and find deeply stained carpet. That completely shatters their trust right from the jump. But hey, beyond just trust, it leads to very tangible risks: fines, complaints, and formal MLS compliance violations. And remember, this doesn't just impact you. An egregious AI edit risks formal violations for both you and your entire brokerage. You're potentially jeopardizing your broker's license and their reputation in the community. Not worth it. So I want to leave you with one final, super practical, fail-safe piece of advice to make sure you always stay compliant. When in doubt, use the original unedited photo. Seriously, if you are ever hesitating, or if you find yourself wondering if that brightness tweak went just a little too far, or if that virtual couch is somehow subtly hiding a permanent structural flaw in the baseboard, just scrap it. Revert right back to the original. It is hands down the absolute best way to guarantee 100% compliance. Which leaves us with this final question to ponder. As AI editing tools continue to advance and become practically indistinguishable from reality, how will the real estate industry balance marketing innovation with fundamental buyer trust? It's a remarkably fine line, isn't it? Balancing showcasing a property's absolute best potential while making sure we're not deceiving the market. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you navigate your very next listing with absolute confidence and clarity.